Hey, Brooklyn.
Hi.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
You excited?
Yes.
What are you excited about?
Travis Kelce will be playing, so Taylor Swift will be there.
Ah, yes. Football starts in just a week. What else are you excited about? Anything else you're excited?
My friend Zoe wrote the beat for your podcast.
I have a podcast?
Yeah.
I do.
Yes. Well, welcome to Three and Out.
Hey now, welcome back to Three and Out. I'm your co-host Wayne Cavati, and joining me, as always, are the best wingmen in fantasy football, Mike the Professor Dutton, and Chris Fanduel Fee Fiamano. Gentlemen, how we doing? We're a week away from football season.
Football.
We are a week away.
Football.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's exciting.
Look, of course, there've been it's exciting, like you said. There's been some cuts. There's been some injuries. Of course, there's some really big news we have to get to here on the Three and Out Fantasy Football Podcast. And of course, that is for the first time in 27 years of fantasy football, Dutton and I have joined forces. This is like Macho Man and Hulk Hogan. What would they call it? The Mega Powers. Becoming a tag team, as Dutton and I have been rivals for 27 years in the division of our. Is it 27 years? Is that really how long?
It is 20.
Yeah.
It is 27.
Crazy.
Yeah, season 27 coming up.
So yeah, we joined forces, and now we have a Dutton and Wayne fantasy football team. I think it's pretty good, don't you, Dutton?
Yeah, we were off to a rip-roaring good start, except I messed up our second pick, but it's going to be all right. We're going to ride with it. Drake London and Devontae Adams. We were supposed to pick Drake London, and when I went to hit him, his name disappeared, and we picked Devontae Adams. So it's okay. We're going to be all right. We're going to be okay.
Yeah, and then he went next, so there was
no turning back then.
There was no turning back. It was utter chaos. Fee, you're on vacation over there, huh? And you're still finding the time to join us. We appreciate that.
I am. I'm in lovely Rhode Island this week, hanging out, getting some beach time before the kids go back to school in September. So, and of course, football started.
Yeah. So how about, gentlemen, before we get into our show tonight, I've had a lot of people that listen to our show text me and message me their rosters asking me to discuss them. So how about a little rosterbation before we get into the questions that we have? I want to give a shout out to a few longtime listeners. So let's start with Courtney. Listen to this starting team and tell me what you guys think. Josh Allen, Breece Hall, Ramondre Stevenson, Mike Evans, Cooper Kupp, Kerry Kittle, Brian Robinson, the commander. Kerry Kittle, George Kittle. Brian Robinson Jr., the Commanders guy, Justin Tucker, Baltimore Ravens, and I wasn't sure if they started two quarterbacks, but she has Baker Mayfield as well. What do we think? I think that's a pretty solid team.
I want to know who else picked in that draft.
Here's the catch. A pretty solid team.
Here's the catch. I don't know two people on her bench, and there is no way in any of the three leagues I'm in I would draft anyone on her bench. And I told her that. I mean, it was brutal. But I told her if she doesn't get hurt, the starters are. I think she's stacked. I think it was a pretty good team, right?
It is a very good team. It really all depends, and you could say this about any team, but it really all depends on how guys that have been injured are going to come back and guys that haven't had decent seasons are going to come back. Cooper Kupp, for instance, right? And then also Ramondre Stevenson. How's that all going to play out? So it sounds good on paper, So you just kind of got to wait and see.
Yeah. All right, longtime listener Mark. He had the 6th pick. I believe it was a 10-team draft. 6th pick. He has CeeDee Lamb and Jamar Chase on his team with his first 2 picks. Boys, in what universe is that possible, and how do we get into this league is my question.
Okay, yeah, I'm thinking back to this Harkins. Isn't Harkin a word? Harkin back to when I one year had Marshall Faulk and Priest Holmes. Remember that? And everyone
but Priest Holmes was
right. I was just about to say that was Priest Holmes coming off, I think, an injury year the year before. But yeah, it worked out great for me. But again, how do we get into this league?
It sounds as if this is a 14 league.
It's a
Right?
4-team league.
I feel like we'd be like Mike and Worm from Rounders, and we just walk in the place and clear house. Yeah, he's got a stacked team. You also got A Chain. He's got Dak Prescott. I mean, Mark
Yeah.
Andrews. He got
Wow.
he got like legit three. He has like
Who
Was
are
he
his running
he has
drafting
like
with
five
7-year-olds?
first and second round picks on his team. What'd you
backs?
say?
Was the rest of the league 7-year-olds? Like,
Maybe.
Who are his running backs?
A Chain and I forgot. Hold on, I have it right here on my phone. If you guys talk amongst yourself, I'll pull it up.
like, okay, you said he had the 6th pick, so let's say it was an 8-team league.
Right.
Let's maybe say it was an 8-team league,
You
and he
can-
got CeeDee
Chase-
Lamb and Jamar Chase still. No, that
How
doesn't.
did he get CeeDee Lamb that late?
Right.
Right.
Well, he told me he wanted Amon-Ra St. Brown at 6, which like going into the draft, I'm like, that's a great pick
Sure,
at 6.
makes
You know,
sense.
It
CeeDee
makes
Lamb's
sense to me.
yeah, so his running
But
backs
then
are
what?
A
But then
Chain.
CeeDee Lamb falls to you, and you're like, I guess I got to take him instead.
Yeah. I mean, he's not deep at running back because he has two of the
All right,
best
so he has
wide
A Chain and who?
A Chain, Brian Robinson from the Commanders, Tony Pollard, and Zeke Elliott.
So wait a minute though. Let's just say, for instance, for example, he's in a 10-team league, right? It's got to be a 10-team league.
Yeah.
How does Jamar Chase make it all the way back in the
That's what I'm
second round
asking.
to
Like-
the 14th pick?
It could be a
That's
6-team league, and CeeDee Lamb and Jamar Chase should be off the board in the first round. We can keep narrowing it down, the number, and they should both be off the board.
They should not be on the same team.
I said it was a 14 league to start.
Yeah, pretty much.
Listen,
Lastly,
Okay, I was gonna say
Neil.
that team's insane, but
What's that?
I was gonna say his team is insane, and that's great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, and the last listener, Neil, shared his roster with me. I'm not going to read his whole roster; it's pretty good. But what do you think about the Amon-Ra Jahmyr Gibbs combo that he has on this team? Do you think that they can both funnel in plenty of points a game? I think they can.
I think you can get 15 points a game from both of them, and you'd be happy every week watching the Lions.
With the upside for a lot more than 15.
Right, but you see what I'm saying? Like, that's their floor, right? If you get 15 points a week from them, you're set. And you're
Yeah.
watching the Lions with the excitement of, I know that any minute one of these guys could pop off for a big run, a big touchdown. Yeah, you're psyched.
Yeah.
So normally the way I look at it is kind of from a DFS perspective, where a running back and a receiver are kind of negatively correlated. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And not all the time, and you can certainly hit on both of those guys throughout the entire season, but there's definitely going to be times when they don't, and you're only going to get one of those guys, and they have
Yeah.
to be starters in your roster, and so you're hoping that there are few and far between where you get weeks that they don't both hit. But
Yeah.
there's definitely going to be weeks where
He's
where
gonna
that
love the
happens, for
weeks
sure.
where Jahmyr Gibbs catches like an 80. I mean, no, sorry, hold on. Where Amon-Ra catches like an 87-yard touchdown, goes down at like the 4, and the next play Jahmyr Gibbs runs in the touchdown.
Right. He gets it all. But he has a good running back stable, which is rare in fantasy these days. He has Etienne, Gibbs, Cook, and what's his name? J.K. Dobbins. So that's a pretty solid. Dobbins is a mixed bag. Him and Gus Edwards are both going to be hurt. They're going to share, but he could get some. We're going to talk about the Chargers in a little bit, actually. And then here's my other question about his team, because he joked with me on my answer. He drafted Kyler Murray as his starter, and he has Matthew Stafford on his bench. I'm like, that's cool that you drafted your starting quarterback second. Like, am I wrong there? Shouldn't Matthew Stafford be starting over Kyler Murray?
Yes.
No.
No?
Yes.
Okay, well, we got two answers. Fee, go ahead.
No. Kyler Murray is clearly a better fantasy quarterback, points wise, than Matthew Stafford is going to be this year. And it's because Kyler Murray it sounds like he's back and he's focused and he has much better weapons around him and he runs. Okay.
That's right.
Stafford has an older Cooper Kupp. Sure, he's got Puka and probably a running game, but that doesn't really help him. If the Rams decide to go run heavy with Kyron Williams and or Blake Corum, right? Is that who it is? Blake Corum.
Yes.
Then then Stafford's going to have to kind of take a bit of a back seat. I would much rather have Kyler Murray on my fantasy team than Stafford.
But you said it yourself. It sounds like Kyler Murray is playing well. Prove it to me. Let me see it. I want to see 3 weeks in a row of Kyler Murray putting up
Listen,
25 or more fantasy points and playing well.
he's got weapons this year.
But yeah,
He's got
I
Trey
want to see it. I want to see it.
He's got Marvin Harrison.
That's the thing, though. There's
James
no excuses
Conner
for him.
is
So there's a lot of
still
pressure on him. A lot of pressure.
And he's still going to run the ball. So
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It's an interesting one. I think it's Stafford by the end of the season. Why not try Murray at first? Murray has just never shown the ability to, I think we talked about this with Jeff last week, to feed multiple players. And he's always a lock-on type of guy. So that's probably Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to have a great year.
it doesn't matter. You're asking about
And
Kyler
Fee, I know
Murray.
I know where this is coming with from Fee, because Fee had Kyler Murray on the ridiculous year until he went down with an injury in like week 13, and he was putting up like 50 points a week. But he's not that Kyler Murray anymore. Like, I know exactly why. I remember that. Like, he was that good that year, but he ain't that guy anymore. We'll see. We'll see. But you're right. He is back. He's healthy for the first time in a long time. So let's get into it. We're still not really doing our regular format. Normally we jump into buy it or BS here, and then we'd go to the locks of the week and Fanduel Fees stacks of the week and starts and sits, but we don't have all that stuff yet. So we're just going to do some fantasy football questions this week, and we're going to start. Dutton, why don't you tell us what you heard on the NFL Network today?
Okay, so it wasn't on the NFL Network. I heard it, but I did hear it. It was coming from multiple sources. NFL Network had it. Everyone had it by the end of the day. NFL player survey came out. They did a survey of 103 NFL players. They asked questions varying about quarterbacks. Who's the GOAT? Tom Brady got the majority of the votes. Some did go to Patrick Mahomes. Who is the most trash talking player quarterback? Josh Allen won that. Baker Mayfield came in second. And then an interesting one for this podcast and all of our loyal listeners, for anyone who's a fan of the Wayniac. Who is the most overrated quarterback in the NFL? And of the 103 surveyed, 11 named Josh Allen. So he is the most overrated quarterback. Second place was a tie between Tua and Jalen Hurts. 10 votes they each received. But according to these 103 players, Josh Allen is the most overrated quarterback in the NFL.
So I'm going to go to Fee, because on the last show we did our player rankings, and Fee, you had Josh Allen as the #1 quarterback. What are your thoughts here on the 11 players as the most overrated quarterback in the NFL?
My thoughts are these 103 surveyed players offensive players? Are they defensive players? Are they NFC players?
Good questions. Good questions.
All valid questions.
My second thought is that's only 10%.
Yep. That's exactly what I said.
11 out of 103. Okay.
You still got the most votes.
So the other 90 or 80, whatever. Well, yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. The other 80, however many guys, didn't mention his name.
Yeah.
Okay. They went to other people. What actually surprises me the most is the fact that Jalen Hurts got 10 votes. So
he was in a Super Bowl 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Now you got to take that whole survey with a grain of salt, I think.
Or do you?
I mean,
here's what do you? I mean,
maybe here's what people are thinking.
Being an overrated quarterback.
Maybe the people are thinking Jason Kelsey's gone, Saquon Barkley's there, so his running game's going to be hampered. So maybe Jalen Hurts isn't Jalen Hurts without the running game. I don't know, but I agree with you. He doesn't seem like he's incredibly overrated. I agree with you there.
I will not take credit for this thought. It was multiple talking heads saying it. I think it was the Joe Fortin-Braun, whoever talk on ESPN when I was driving around real quick today. They discussed most likely it coming down to Josh Allen's turnover.
Yeah, like record set.
Yeah.
Listen, yeah, but that's something that Wayne has talked about
Right. And that's why I
Aegis.
immediately texted. I immediately texted you both when I heard it. Like, I mean, you can mark the
Aegis.
time that I heard it because that's exactly when that text was sent out because I was like, oh, yeah, Wayne needs to hear this. So,
I mean, the bottom line is, and this is what I've always said about Josh Allen. Josh Allen is always going to be, I don't want to say always, because this year's going to be tough for him, but usually going to be a good fantasy football quarterback. He obviously, when it comes to him being as good as he is, I've always believed on the NFL level, he's overrated. But again, how much is that has been on him and how much is that has been on the media portraying him to be someone that he's never, ever, ever really been, So, but I just thought it was funny and we had to
I
discuss.
think, and they discussed it, and I immediately went back to my computer to look it up. His stats in that game against Mahomes, where he didn't get the ball in overtime, which changed. I mean, that he threw 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, over 300 yards. He was like 78%.
Wasn't it all in like the last 3 minutes?
Yeah, and
Is
yeah,
that
it
that
was
game?
ridiculous. And I
Gabe
think
Davis had like 27 touchdowns and
that
stuff.
was like the legend of Josh Allen, right? So I think he rode that one game through probably the last 2 seasons, right? So
Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah.
where this vote is coming from. Like, okay, we've now seen him play that game, and then we've now seen 2 seasons of, I mean, he didn't play bad last year when they lost to the Chiefs. He didn't miss the field goal at the end of the game,
Right. No,
you know?
very true.
But yes, it was interesting. And Fee, yes, to your point, when you look at percentage wise, it's basically the same percentage between Josh Allen, Tua, and Jalen, right? You're looking at about 10%. Josh Allen's on the plus side of the 10%. They're on the just short of 10%, but they're all right around 10%. So it is interesting.
All right. Well,
Oh,
moving on from one overrated quarterback to another. No, yeah, maybe he is. Russell Wilson was named the starter over Justin Fields today. Of course, anything can happen with that. I have a couple thoughts, but Dutton, we'll go to you. We let Fee start off with Josh Allen. Dutton, what do you think about Russell Wilson? Was it the right move?
No.
Wait,
No.
real quick.
Oh,
Wait,
go ahead, Fee. Go.
Real quick. Josh Allen finished with the most quarterback fantasy points last season.
Yeah.
30 more than Dak Prescott.
Didn't he have 15 rushing touchdowns though, I believe? Quarterbacks don't repeat that.
He did,
Yeah,
but so did Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
And he finished with like almost 60 points back.
It's going to be tough.
Just saying.
Yeah, no, I know it. And I said, I agree with you. He's good fantasy, but we'll see what it translates to. But Dutton, Russell, you said Justin Fields should be over Russell Wilson.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't know. I just don't think Russell Wilson has the foot speed that's going to be needed for the Steelers quarterback to get the time needed to get the ball downfield. And I think Justin Fields provides that second level, that second option where he can run the ball a little bit faster. I think really you're looking at, I don't want to say a mirror image because there's an age difference, but it's kind of like the Spider-Man meme. Like you're looking at one guy who used to be really good in the NFL and is definitely on the decline, and another guy who has the potential to be really good, but we haven't really seen it yet. Like, you know what I mean? Like he could be Russell Wilson, what Russell Wilson was for the Seahawks all those years. Like Justin Fields could be that for the Steelers. So why not go with him?
Fee.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Dutton, and part of it is because exactly what he had said about Russell Wilson and his foot speed and being able to maneuver outside of the pocket. Because according to several websites, preliminary rankings of offensive line, the Steelers have the second worst offensive line in the NFL. And that's going to be a big problem.
That's probably not very good.
For someone, as old as he is and who's trying to do the things he used to be able to do when he was younger. Justin Fields has proven, I feel like, that he can get out of the pocket and run as good as any other quarterback can. And I feel like that would be beneficial in this sort of situation with Steelers.
Here's my thing, and I'm trying to find it right now as we talk. Wasn't there some stipulate? So they remember they got Justin Fields and then they declined his big like $25 million option, whatever it was for next year, meaning like he's playing for his job. Wasn't there something in his contract if he plays a certain amount of snaps at center, they have to pay him like 20 million as opposed to the few million they have to pay him right now after the trade? In which case, it makes look, the Steelers have looked horrendous this preseason. Like they look rough. It kind of makes sense to save the guy and then pay him for next year, and not have to pay him this year and just tank with Russell Wilson, right? A little bit like this team.
I mean, if it's that's the case, everything you're saying makes sense. But I hate it. I hate it. It's ridiculous that because you're tanking, you're basically tanking, right? Who do you have a better chance to win with?
Well, if Roman Wilson's healthy, they have
Russell Wilson.
No, Roman, the rookie they drafted got.
Oh, right. Sorry.
If he's healthy and Russell Wilson healthy, George Pickens, Najee Harris, and Jalen Warren and Freiermuth, that sounds like it should be good. But like Fee was saying, the big problem is that offensive line is going to get mauled every week.
Well, here's another big problem. They're not tanking,
right?
Because
they're the Steelers.
They have like a top 5 defense or top 10.
Yeah.
They have a top 10 defense in the league. Their defense is very, very good. They're not going to just lose games 30-0 or whatever it is. You know,
tank was a bad word. I didn't mean tank.
Tank I don't think tank. Yeah, tank's not the bad word, but I guess if you're choosing saving money over putting your best chance of winning out there, what is that saying? You know what I'm saying? Like you're deciding that saving money is more important than winning, and I don't think the fan wants to hear that, know that, or see that happen. So, like, if that's the case, and like Wayne, we don't know if it's true. Like you were saying, you think that's the case. Like,
we don't know if that's the case.
Right. I'm just saying, like, I just think Justin Fields is a better option because I don't think it's not like they're going from Russell Wilson 2012 on the Seattle Seahawks to Justin Fields. Like, you know what I mean? Like they're not that far apart in their skill set right now.
Okay, well, first I finally found it and I was wrong. The deal was if he plays 51% of the snaps at quarterback, the 6th round pick they traded becomes a 4th round pick. So that's what it was. It wasn't money. It was they would lose.
Right. Well, then, but still,
I mean, I don't know that matters.
Yeah,
that's not in the Steelers' DNA.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? The Steelers play to win. They do. They're winning.
They do. They're going to finish 9-8 with their eyes closed because Mike Tomlin doesn't lose.
Right.
Well,
maybe they could finish 11-6 if they play Justin Fields more.
Yeah, I don't know, man. If Russell Wilson didn't look terrible in Denver until he really decided he didn't want to play football anymore. Like he was actually, I think he was like a top 5 quarterback until about week 6 last year.
Yeah, I think you are right about that. But it went down and it plummeted big time.
And then he just didn't want to play football.
Have we seen Russell Wilson play with the Steelers yet, like for real?
No.
I mean, obviously not for real, but like.
No. Right, no, not even.
So, I mean, it's hard to say like what he looks like and what their offense is going to look like if you don't really know how good Russell Wilson is actually going to be. He's not going to be as bad as he was in Denver.
Yeah,
I really don't believe that.
Is Russell Wilson a Hall of Famer? He's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I think he might be a 2-yard interception away from being a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe that could be it. You might be right there. But yeah, they went to back-to-back Super Bowls. He has the Super Bowl win. I mean, the terrible pickoff. I don't know. I would.
Malcolm Butler might be the reason that Russell Wilson never wears a yellow jacket.
Malcolm Butler was Division II West Alabama. So thank you for bringing him up on the show.
You're welcome.
Football starts tomorrow night, as a matter of fact.
There you go.
Okay, moving on to the next question. Kyren Williams is going to be returning punts. What does McVay have up his sleeve? And does Blake Corum? You remember last time we spoke, Jeff was talking about Kyren Williams. He had him rated really high because he didn't think that Blake Corum was really there to be any sort of. Does this change that? I mean, are you drafting Blake Corum now? FaZe, you have your hand up so politely. Go ahead, sir.
I have questions. what do we know about this whole Kyron Williams being reported as the punt returner? Is it straight from Sean McVay's mouth that he's like, this is what we're doing, like it's
Yes.
set in stone. He's
It's
now a punt
it's a
returner.
headline.
Done.
It's a headline. Kyron Williams returning punts.
Look, we're a week away
Straight
from
out
the
of Sean
season.
McVay's mouth.
We're a week away from the season. I don't want to say anything set in stone, but yes, this is what was said yesterday by McVay.
I'm gonna quote it to you. Go ahead, Wayne. You talk. I got you.
Oh no, Fee, keep
Because,
going.
well, here's yeah. So I'm not entirely sure that I believe this, and if it is to be, if it is true, it doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. Kyron Williams was a really, really good running back
Really good.
last year.
Yeah.
Really good. And now all of a sudden you're like, well, we're going to put him in harm's way
Right.
and take away touches from him as the running back just to get him some punt returns.
Well,
So that's why it
Here's the
doesn't really
quote.
make a whole lot of sense to me.
here's the quote. It's another opportunity for him to get touches and impact the game. And you feel comfortable with
get
that you feel comfortable with that because of the confidence in Blake Corum and Ronnie Rivers being able to spell him if need be.
Spell him. What about
That
being
is
number
true.
one running back after his knees are taken out on a punt return?
Well, and here's the thing. Like I said to Fee earlier before we were filming,
Yep.
even if Kyron doesn't get hurt, okay. So the Rams defense comes on 3 and out. They punt. Kyron Williams returns the punt, catches the punt, runs it back for about 14 yards, gets tackled out of bounds. No big hit, no nothing. He's not going to be running the ball on first down.
Yeah.
So right? So I hear you, Sean McVay, but you're also taking touches away from him. Right?
Yeah.
Because
Oh, I'm with you.
yeah, so I don't know. Yes, if your question is Blake Corum more valuable? I think the answer is yes, based on Sean McVay's quote there, where he says I have confidence in them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I mean, you got to draft him now. And just as a handcuff because of the danger of punt returns. I like Fee, I'm kind of with you. Like, is this him playing like cat and mouse and just making this statement before the season so people don't know how to plan? You know, like it doesn't seem like it makes any sense. But I mean, he is explosive. If you're trying to win the game in the return game, I mean, there it is.
and that could be it right there, right? Like,
Right.
oh
Maybe,
yeah, he's returning
maybe
punts.
he,
See, I put him in at the end of the game. We needed him.
Yeah.
Yeah, for like one punt return at the end of the game.
Right. He didn't
We're
lie.
leaning
He
it.
didn't lie. He's returning punts.
Yeah. Can we talk about the Desmond Ritter and Rondell Moore trade? Has there ever been a worse trade? Do we know what? Do you guys both know what happened? Right?
Yes.
Desmond Ritter got cut yesterday, and Rondell Moore's out for the season. And it was, I believe, it was a 1-year deal. So both of these guys literally got nothing. It was a trade of nothing. Like in just a few weeks. Like I don't remember a trade ever being
Here's the difference.
in a short amount of time.
Here's the one difference.
Both teams got nothing.
Here's the one difference. At least the Falcons are able to say, we had a guy, he got hurt.
Right.
The Cardinals got a guy, and they're like, you know what? You're so bad, we're cutting you.
We don't even need you anymore. We changed our mind.
We traded for you, and you're so bad, we're just gonna cut you.
They probably actually tried to get a return on Rondell Moore, who's out for the year, and they probably tried to get him back on Desmond Ritter. Hey, can we get that guy? He tore his ACL. We don't care.
We don't care.
Send him
Just
back.
send him back. It's fine. Just because, like, seriously, like they got nothing. They got nothing. At least the Falcons got like, oh man, imagine if we had Rondell Moore. Like, what could have been? What could have been? The Cardinals got, man, we had to cut that dude.
I told Dutton that the Cardinals were probably just like, shit, we just made a terrible mistake. Oh well, we'll just cut him.
I just can't remember a trade that quickly went that sour for both teams, right?
I mean, you thought the Jets made a bad trade. They have a guy who won't even play for them.
Who's that?
Right? The Jets. They have that defenseman that hasn't signed yet, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that was just funny to me. Okay, yesterday was also cut day. Speaking of Desmond Ritter, wait, which way do we go here? Because Desmond Ritter affects the next two questions I have. We got to talk about Desmond Ritter is in the class of 2022. This is the most bizarre QB class ever. Like, is it the worst? Let me read it to you, right?
Please.
Especially in this offseason, Malik Willis traded. Kenny Pickett traded. Desmond Ritter traded and cut. Sam Howell traded. Matt Corral and Bailey Zappi cut. And meanwhile, 2 7th rounders, 2 afterthoughts in the entire draft, Brock Purdy and Skylar Thompson are both playing significant time for their teams. You know, Skylar Thompson's already, obviously he's not the starter, but he already started a playoff game for them, right? And Brock Purdy's been in a Super Bowl. It's like, what do you make of this draft class, Fee?
Well, I make that obviously all of those quarterbacks are terrible, except for maybe Brock Purdy. I mean, and Scarlett Thompson kind of we're still out on that, but
Right.
but all the rest of those guys that you mentioned, it just goes to show you everyone drafted these guys in the first round, or most of them in the first round, looking for their next quarterback to be their franchise guy, and they're all terrible.
I mean, they were.
I want the ESPN 30 for 30 on the scouts and what happened to them after these guys were drafted, because there's no way any of these scouts still have their jobs with the teams they were working for. They might not be around in the NFL anymore. Like,
you have to look. I'm trying to be a good guy in my life, and I can't play quarterback in the NFL. I don't like ripping apart. But here's the bottom line. You're only 2 years into your rookie contract, and these teams are getting rid. Like, you are on your rookie deal, and they're just like, get out of here. Like, you can't even become a backup for the team that's paying you like
nothing,
nickels and dimes compared to what they're paying everybody else on that team.
Right?
It's crazy to me how quickly and I think part of it. You say the scouts. I think part of it's just this mindset in the NFL that quarterbacks win. And so you have to go get the quarterback early. Like, you can't pass on the quarterback. And I think that's just a mentality we're always going to see moving forward in the NFL.
Okay, so here's my quick question. I want to just put this out there so we can come back to it at some point this season. We know there's going to be a major quarterback injury. Does one of these guys get called, or does Joe Flacco get? Oh no, Joe Flacco has a job.
He has a job.
Right. So who's somebody else that's retired that might get a
Ryan Tannehill's still a free agent.
Ryan Tannehill. Matt
I think he's better than everyone.
Matt Ryan come out of the booth? Does Matt Ryan come out of the booth and go back because they're like, look, we'll just take you, Matt. You're better than what one of these guys.
Tannehill's definitely better than those guys. Well, not Purdy and Thompson, of course, but or Tannehill could be better than Thompson. We know nothing about Thompson except that he can win a few ball games with like 8 offensive weapons that every other team wish they could have. Anyway, so yesterday, back to this question, Desmond Ritter was one of the cuts. I don't think he was a surprise. But surprise cuts. Yesterday was cut day. Were there any cuts that surprised you? I definitely have a few. Fee, any cuts that surprised you? One of my guys is your guy that I'm surprised.
Kadarius Toney?
No, not him. Isaiah Hodges. I liked Isaiah Hodges.
Isaiah Hodges.
He seemed like a good number 4.
Yeah. He did nothing last year, like absolutely nothing. He had that one great. He had that one really good year, and he just kind of fell off after that. Like, he just couldn't keep it up. So, I mean, if there's guys that are better than him, he's just not going to make a spot on the team. And hopefully, he finds his way onto another team, because I did like him. He was, he's 6'4", tall, kind of possession type of guy. I don't know. He was pretty good, but not great by any means. But yeah.
Dutton, it looks like you had something to say.
I don't have a surprise. I would have loved to have seen the reaction of Kadarius Toney. Did he think he was gonna make the Chiefs? Yeah. Like, he didn't play in the Super Bowl. The first preseason game, the first offensive play, he got called for not one but 2 penalties. 2 penalties he got called for. And then they signed what's his face yesterday?
Juju.
Like,
how does that guy keep getting work?
Look, he's fast and he's got good hands. That's how he gets good work. So I would have loved to have seen Kadarius Toney. I wasn't surprised by it, but I just wanted to know why he would have been surprised by it.
Yeah. Hey, what do you think? Because
Sounds
he's
like
a
the
former
Giants.
one of your boys,
Sounds like the Giants made a fantastic play
right?
in trading him away, and everyone's like, "Oh, what are the Giants doing? How can you trade away your second first round pick that year?" You know, that's crazy. He's supposed to be so good. He's so fast and
He
all this
made
shit.
one play for the Chiefs. One play.
Yeah,
That punt return in the Super Bowl.
yeah.
Wasn't that Dave? That was like Dable's first year, right? And he was just cleaning house of like all the people he
I
didn't
think
want.
so. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, that was
Tony
pretty
was
cool.
one of those guys.
He also told everybody today, don't believe my roster's finalized, even though I'm down to 53.
Who said that?
Stable.
Oh, he did. Yeah, they almost I read numerous places that they almost cut Daniel Jones. That it was close.
Really?
Really?
I don't know who said it and like where they got their information from. Like if it was a source or if it
For
was
Desmond Ritter?
what but Danny
Desmond
Dimes, yeah, it was like okay. I'm gonna throw a few names out at you that are that were also interested to me. Noah Brown on the Texans. Look, I get it. They got Tank Dell, Nico
There's
Collins.
just no room for him in the stable, dude. I think that was just a
You
money.
still get teams still go 4 wide receivers. Noah Brown's would be one of the best number 4s in the league.
Yeah,
Like,
but what's his contract stitch? That's got to be a money thing.
I guess, but I couldn't imagine Noah Brown was making too much money.
Yeah, but if they're gonna pay for somebody else, that
He was making 3 million.
yeah, I don't
That's
know.
not much to get off the books.
It's 3 million though that you can put to something else.
Yeah. Did you have any insight? No. What about okay? This one's weird, and I'm going to tell you why this is weird. Okay, Dante Foreman is on the Browns now.
Right.
Not Dante. What? I know. This is a guy that I feel like every time someone needs him to play, he does well, right? So you got your depth chart in Cleveland right now is running backs is Nick Chubb, who is definitely missing opening week. Nobody really sure what else. Jerome Ford,
But
who
they
looks
put him. I thought they put him on
Pup.
on
He's
pup.
on pup. He's
Oh.
He's
out
gonna
for
miss
four.
first 4 weeks.
yeah, there you go. Same with Naeem Hines, who is like way down the depth chart, but he's a running back, so he's on the pup. You got Pierre Strong, who's hurt, and Jerome Ford. So you're rolling with 4 running backs, 2 of which we know are out for 4 weeks, and Pierre Strong, who got hurt in the final preseason game. And like I said, but here's the crazy part: they're running with 4 quarterbacks right now in the
Well,
53-man roster. They have Deshaun Watson, Jameis Winston, Huntley, and Dorian Thompson Robinson. Like, how are you cutting Dante Foreman and keeping 4 quarterbacks?
and that's the kind of thing you wonder too, like, do they cut him, hope nobody signs him, and then they sign him to practice squad?
Of course, I'm sure that's
right?
what you're hoping.
You know what I mean? Like,
Well, they have to keep Deshaun Watson because they're paying him $700 million guaranteed. So you can't get rid of him.
could you imagine? Could you imagine if the Browns could just be the Browns right now without that hanging around them, that anchor? Like, they'd be people would love them and they'd love themselves. They probably look themselves in the mirror like, God, we still have him on our team and we're
Yeah.
good.
I love it. So yeah, that one was weird to me, right? And it just seemed weird. And that's like I said, Dante Foreman isn't anything great, but every time
No, he's the guy who's he's gonna get picked up next week by somebody, and he's gonna go out there the first week of the season. He's gonna have 2 touchdowns and like 84 yards, and he's gonna be like the #1 waiver wire pickup on Monday morning.
Yeah. Here was another one. This one didn't have to do with cuts, but so when Harbaugh was hired at San Diego at the Chargers, at Los Angeles Chargers, what did you immediately think about what kind of offense the Chargers would be?
That they would run the ball constantly.
Run the
Run
ball.
the ball, pound the ball, be the Ravens.
They kept 7 wide receivers on their 53-man roster, none of which I would draft in a fantasy league at all.
That's the exact reason why they kept 7 wide
Because
receivers.
none of them were
They're all the same guy.
yeah, maybe.
They're like, we don't know who's good and who's not good, so we're just gonna keep them all, and someone eventually will be halfway.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah,
Justin,
we'll
just pick which ones you like and throw it to them.
Joshua Palmer, Lad McConkey, Quentin Johnson, who I'm pretty sure Fee you don't think is good at all. Darius Davis, Simi Fehako, DJ Shark Doo, and Brendan Rice. That is quite the stable of running backs. And Noah
Yeah,
Brown's out there getting cut, right? Like,
Wide receivers, wide receivers.
yeah, wide receivers.
whatever happened to DJ Chark?
Dude,
He was
He's
so
he's
he
with
was
he's
so
with Justin
good.
Herbert and on the Chargers.
he was,
No, no,
you know what
no.
he was? He was very much Gabe Davis. He was a
Yeah.
guy that
Lightning in a bottle for a couple of weeks.
when everyone else was covered, he found his way open. And
Mhm.
he put a for one season, he put a lot of good games together, and that was
Yeah,
pretty
he
much
did.
it.
He did. And the song was popular right at the right time. Yeah, it was perfect.
DJ Chark, DJ Chark,
Uh, any other surprises on your guys, or do you want to just move on to the
Move it on.
Okay.
Moving on.
Tomorrow night, I'm I'm helping draft Benny, longtime listener Benny's team in his league. I got the 8th pick in a 10-team league. The scoring is pretty much what you would think scoring is. Quarterbacks get 6 points for a touchdown, 2 points for an interception, regular yardage points for running back, 1 point for every 10 yards for running back, quarterback, tight end, point per reception, 6 points for a touchdown. I have the 8th pick. Who am I going with, gentlemen?
CeeDee Lamb.
Non-keeper.
I wish you could get CD Lamb. That would be amazing.
CeeDee Lamb.
Zero
Here's
chance I get CeeDee Lamb.
the 8th pick is really tough.
Yeah.
Garrett
Because
Wilson.
yeah. I like Garrett Wilson a lot actually. But there's you could go any number of 10 different guys at that spot because the problem is that 1 through 7 are basically locked down.
You think?
Okay, those top 7 guys go 1 through 7, except for that guy's league with the 4 teams, where CeeDee Lamb and Jamar Chase were available, and whatever was going on there. But for the most part, the first 7 picks are the first 7 picks. The first
Yeah.
7 guys are the first 7 guys. So once you get to 8, there's like a whole handful of guys in different ways that you could go. Justin Jefferson technically could still be there. Because if he's not, then those other top 7 guys are almost like falling in your lap at that point. Where
Yeah.
you would take any one of those top 7 guys: McCaffrey, Lamb, Tyreek Hill, Breece Hall, Jamar Chase, Bijan Robinson, Amon-Ra St. Brown. If one of those guys falls to 8, you take them. If they don't, there's Justin Jefferson. Okay, while yes, there's question marks there, but he's still Justin Jefferson. So do you take him? Do you not take him?
Yeah.
AJ Brown, Garrett Wilson. You can go running back, Jonathan Taylor, Saquon Barkley, Jahmyr Gibbs. Puka is still there. And like it would be hard to take some of those receivers ahead of Justin Jefferson, maybe, and AJ Brown and Garrett Wilson, but like those, I feel like those are top 3 kind of guys, unless you wanted to go running back at that point.
Yeah.
But that's a tough call. That 8th pick is a hard pick this year.
If Jahmyr Gibbs falls to me at number 8, I'll take him twice. I'll take him with both my next 2 picks. That's how excited I would be if Jahmyr Gibbs falls to me.
I think that he would absolutely fall to you unless someone takes him in the top 7 and then one of those other guys falls.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd like Barkley there. But like you said, the wide receiver is kind of just a waiting game to see who pans out and falls to me. Garrett Wilson will definitely be there. AJ Brown.
I mean, is there I know there's online debate these days about fantasy football leagues have picked. No, there's a lot of leagues who haven't drafted yet. We're one of them. We know that.
Yeah.
Is there hesitation? Somebody asked me today, is there hesitation to draft Jamar Chase because of all this contract nonsense that he's going through? And I was like, I don't have an answer. I think at the end of the day, he plays because he doesn't have a choice. Like the Bengals.
If anything, he sits out 1 game, right? Like who did that last? Someone sat out 1 game last year to send a message. Remember? I can't remember who it was, but I don't think it would.
Talking about, I can't remember who it was either.
Yeah, I don't think anyone would sit out an entire season and risk losing all that money.
If it's me, I don't think it matters. I don't think he holds out. The whole question of him like not playing or whatever, I think it's not even a question. I think he will play. I would absolutely take Jamar Chase no matter where he fell to.
Yeah, I love Chase.
AJ Brown, do you take AJ Brown there? Is it too early at 8?
I mean,
We took him at
again, it
we
depends
took
who.
him at 10.
Yeah, it depends who's going. It would be
But
hard for me to have
here's
AJ Brown invested in 2 leagues. He's not a guy that you go
the
in
other thing.
on a.
The other thing is that this is a 10-team league. So with the eighth pick, you only have 9, 10, 11, 12, and then
Yeah,
you're back again. So you only have 4 picks. So, let's say you took a receiver there. Or no, let's say you took Gibbs,
I like
right?
this. Keep going. Keep going.
So then Jefferson, AJ Brown, Garrett Wilson are gone, and then one more pick. Maybe let's say a running back, just because that's so many receivers, and maybe the ninth
So
and
then you
tenth
can
pick
get
don't take 4
Devontae
receivers.
Adams, Kyron
Well,
Williams,
all right, so let's say
Pacheco.
Jonathan Taylor is that running back, right? So you have Puka, Marvin Harrison, Drake London, Devontae Adams, you know, Mike Evans, Olave. There's a lot of receivers on that comeback too.
Yeah,
So if you went Gibbs, you could take any number of wide receivers on that comeback too.
yeah. So the way that ESPN has it ranked, because this is on the ESPN app, like, and they'll rank the players by
Right.
league rules.
Right.
The top 8 are in order: McCaffrey, Lamb, Hill, Tyreek Hill, St. Brown, Chase, Bijan Robinson, Justin Jefferson, and that would give me Brees Hall. I would take Brees Hall right there.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
for sure.
Absolutely.
And Gibbs isn't even up there.
Wow.
Something has to be wrong with that.
No, they probably have him like
Doesn't
14 or
Gibbs
something.
have a hamstring problem or something? That
Maybe.
they were like, oh, don't worry about it.
Possibly.
I thought he had some sort of injury ailment.
Who,
And I
Jahmyr
don't know.
Gibbs?
Yeah, and like people are kind of getting scared about it. I don't
Yeah,
remember
it was a
exactly.
hamstring. You're right. Yes, I do remember that now. It was a hammy.
Which could be a problem.
Yeah,
I mean, that could be a problem.
yeah.
But I mean, I guess that's the chance you got to take if you want them.
So, Fee, didn't you have 2 drafts this week, or did you just get your picks this week?
No, I did. I have one tomorrow. And I had one last week.
In your
So I had one
one,
last week and one tomorrow.
and one in your one last week. I know you really can't share this because we're in the same league, but I feel like we all know each other at this point anyway.
Yeah.
In your other draft, is it pretty much normal scoring, like as close?
Yeah, it's 4 points for passing touchdown, but everything else is basically the same.
So did
It's a PPR,
did you go
full PPR.
did you go wide receiver, wide receiver? Did you go running back? Like how did you go in that
Wait,
draft?
what pick did you have?
No, I had it's a 12-team league where I had the third pick,
Oh,
and Christian McCaffrey and CeeDee Lamb went 1-2.
Yeah,
And I decided to go with Bijan Robinson
love it.
right.
with the third pick. I had took him
I think
ahead of
that's
Brees
solid.
Hall. I took him ahead of Tyreek Hill. I took him ahead of Chase, Amon-Ra, and
Yeah,
and then a bunch of other guys. But
I think it's a good pick. I think it's the right pick.
with that pick, I just felt like I wanted to get one of the top running backs because those top 3 guys are, I feel like, are just in a class of their own. And if you
Yeah,
have the chance to grab one, then I feel like why not?
yeah.
So
I
Bijan
I think you made
Robinson
the
was
right
third
pick.
pick. Yeah.
Now, so let me ask you, after you made that pick in your head, were you like, I'm definitely going wide receiver here, or were you just like, let's see how this plays out?
Uh, I wanted to see how it was going to play out, but I ended up going receiver with my second pick, and it's because that's the second round went running back, running back, running back, running back, running back, running back,
Oh,
receiver, running back, receiver,
gotcha.
and so there were no running backs left that I wanted to take at that point.
Well, that's what.
There
Go
was
ahead.
one running back I could have taken. It was Achan, but I decided not to, and
I think that's
I
right.
ended up just taking Chris Olave instead.
That's exactly what happened to Lane and I on Sunday. Like it would come close to us picking, and we would look at running back because like we need a running back. Like, and we were like, not worth it. It's not worth it when we can get this wide receiver that's better. It would
We-
come back to us, and we're like, we need a running back. Not worth it. We can get this tight end that's better than like, right,
Even
Wayne? I
with
mean,
even with Devontae Adams, I
Right,
think
which was a
our
messed
wide
up line.
receiver room and tight end room is stacked. It's AJ Brown, Devontae Adams, Tank Dell, Chris Godwin, and then who else did we get? We got another wide receiver down here. We got Brandon Cooks because we have Dak Prescott
Right.
and Rashid Shaheed. Like that's a deep wide receiver room, and then you throw in Mark Andrews and who was the other tight end we drafted? Evan Ingram in the
Evan Ingram.
Plus, we had A Chain as the 8th round keeper, so we didn't have to draft. So we have an RB1.
Right.
We don't have an RB2
At
Who
all.
is your RB2?
Chuba Hubbard, Chase Brown, or
Okay.
someone else that was very frightening.
And who's your
Right.
quarterback?
Dak. And
And
our
we got
Dak,
backup.
Baker.
right.
We got Baker,
And
baby.
Baker is our backup.
Baker, baby.
Who was our? It was Chuba Hubbard, Chase Brown, and
I couldn't even tell
Jaleel
you.
McLaughlin from the
Yeah,
Broncos.
I mean, every time, and that's the other thing. It
It's
got into
brutal.
the later rounds, and we were like, okay, this is the time we're gonna take this running back, and we'd
Yeah.
have 3 of them ready in the queue, and it would go bang, 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 and they'd all be gone. Like, okay, forget it.
Yeah.
Like,
People are still going running back heavy, and I just feel like with the receiver and tight end room we built, I think we're okay with just A Chain as long as he stays healthy enough. Wow, that spiraled out of nowhere. Let's go through. I just want to close out the show going through some of our favorite stacks heading into this year. I got a few, but I have a question on them before we get to it. Fee, since you're a Fanduel guy, I'll start with you. Are the Texans a good stack this year, or are there way too many mouths to feed?
Yeah, the problem with that is that there are too many mouths to feed, and how that goes with DFS is you don't know who's going to get what on what week, right? Where do you go with Tank Dell and Stroud this week, or no? Do you go with Nico Collins? Oh no, maybe. Oh no, Stephon Diggs. So how are you supposed to choose which guy you're going to take? Yes, you could look at the stats. Yes, you could look at the cornerback matchups. So
matchup.
like there are ways to try to get an idea of how it might go. But the problem with doing that is you're going to pay, especially with the Texans, you're going to pay a lot of money to do it.
Yeah,
Those guys' salaries are very high, all of them. And
Yeah.
so if you get it wrong, you're screwed.
All
yeah.
right, I got a question,
So,
FanDuel.
so it's just a matter of how risky you want to get with it.
This is a question for FanDuel. It's also for people drafting. Do you stay away from the AJ Brown, Saquon Barkley stack?
Well, I mean,
I know you don't have a
remember that
quarterback
you
in
mixed
there,
that.
but having them both on your team, is that a good idea or not so good idea?
Well, again, a running back and a receiver on the same team is sort of negatively correlated. So
Right.
you kind of don't necessarily want to do that, especially with DFS. You could do it with season long,
Right.
and get away with it because it's almost like you're corralling all of those touchdowns that those guys are gonna end up getting, and one of them's gonna get you're gonna get the points no matter what because
You're hoping,
basically
right,
gonna
that at the end of the day, one of them is getting the
those points.
touchdown.
So it's not a terrible idea for season long, but for DFS as far as strategy goes, it's not something you normally want to do unless you're trying to get different from what other people are doing. And if you're going to take those guys, you're going to stack the quarterback with
Right,
them
right,
too,
right, right. Yeah.
because then you're going to get the whole thing.
It's probably one of those like,
Um,
hey, I'm going to do this Friday night. The Packers are playing the Eagles, and I'm going to play daily fantasy. So let's just pick 3 Eagles and 1 Packer.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, you could totally do that, but normally it's not a good idea. But again, it's okay for season long if that's the way you want to go with it.
Are the Lions in
Um,
the category?
Are the Lions in that category?
Yeah, think about all you got. Amon Ra,
Gibbs.
two running backs. You still got Montgomery. You
And
got Laporta, who's arguably the
Laporta.
best tight end in football if Kelsey is declining. And then you still got Jameson Williams, who's supposed to, tear the roof off and become this deep Deshaun Jackson guy.
So again, those guys are really good, and you're gonna score points. The
Yeah,
problem is
money.
yeah, they're all going to be priced way up. Amon Ra is going to be one of the top 5 salaried guys. Sam Laporta is probably the highest salaried tight end.
Yeah.
So you're going to pay a lot of money to get those guys on your team. And if you get it wrong, you're screwed.
Yeah.
Right. So those type of teams, especially for week one, where there's other ways you can go, because no one really knows what's going to happen and how things are going to play out week one. Those are the type of teams I feel like you kind of want to stay away from.
Yeah.
If you want to pick one of those guys, sure, you can absolutely have one of those guys on your team. If you want a Sam Laporta or an Amon Ra, as a one-off on your team, absolutely, by all means. Same thing with one of those Texans guys, or if you want C.J. Stroud or something like that, absolutely, by all means, go for it. You don't have to hold back. But by stacking all of those guys, you're really putting all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
And you're making it tough. But some initial week one thoughts. You were talking about those Browns running backs and how they're all hurt and everybody's gone and all this. Jerome Ford's like the last man standing. He's going to get a ton of work.
Yeah.
He should get a ton of volume. He's
Yeah.
he's $6,200 on FanDuel, which is super cheap for a running back.
Yeah.
If he gets a ton of play and a ton of volume, I mean, he could pay off that salary fairly easily, I would think.
Yeah.
Who else? Mike
Save it for
Evans.
next week. Save it for next week.
Okay, all right. I'll save it for them. But
No, we can just-
these aren't necessarily stacks. These are just kind
Right,
of
that's
like
true.
one-off initial week one DFS thoughts, right? Mike Evans, he's only 7,300, I think.
I'm in on the Bucks
and
this year as a power stack. Look at all the weapons the team has.
yeah, with Baker, doing his thing. Evans finished with 1,400 yards and 14 touchdowns last
Yeah,
season.
it's a beast.
Nothing's really changed. Yeah, nothing's really changed with Tampa. They
Yeah.
still got Rashad White. They still got all the makings of that offense. That Godwin is still there. Yes, he's playing in the slot. Maybe he commands more volume and touches this year. But Evans is Mike Evans.
Yeah.
There's no reason to think he's not going to, be a horse just like he was last year. And he's only 7,300. How about the Bills receivers? Everyone's like, oh, the Bills are going to be terrible. Well, Josh Allen's going to do something, and he's got to throw it to somebody. Who are starting receivers this week? Curtis Samuel, Khalil Shakir, and Keon Cole.
Yeah.
John Coleman.
Shakir, Keon Coleman, and Curtis Samuel. Yep.
Someone's going to be in line for a whole bunch of targets.
Yeah.
In that offense. Josh Allen isn't going to run the ball 20 times.
It's going to be Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox.
Knox is hurt, but yeah, it could be Kincaid for sure. But that's an interesting spot. Who else? The Colts, Josh Downs is out 4 to 6 weeks with a high ankle sprain. So Anthony Richardson to Michael Pittman, that could be interesting.
I like the Falcons. And what do you think about the Bears, right? Look at all the weapons the Bears have.
Yeah, well, that's going to be an issue too, right? I mean, everyone is enamored with Caleb Williams, and he may be a really, really good quarterback and put up some really good numbers this year. He may be a top 10 fantasy quarterback, right, this year. But where are all those fantasy points going to? I don't know. Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, the running game. Williams himself, Komet,
the rookie guy,
there are a lot of
Adunze.
Adunze. There are a lot of options there, and so trying to figure out who's going to be the best one is going to be tough year, DFS wise. If you're trying to get season long, I mean, like any one of those guys could be solid. DJ Moore should have a really good year.
Yeah,
I mean, DJ Moore had an amazing year last year.
I feel like the Dolphins fall into the Texans Lions camp. They just all those guys are going to be so expensive. Tua, A-Chain, Waddle, Tyreek. Those guys are going to cost a fortune to stack.
Yep, they are for sure. Yeah, there's spots that you gotta go through the schedule for week one and pick and choose your spots as to where you think there could be fantasy goodness. Because there's going to be a lot of people that are trying to pick out these super teams like the Texans and the Lions, and they're going to kind of fall flat because they're not going to get the right guys. So you kind of got to. I feel like you got to try to find the spots elsewhere.
Yeah. Dutton, anything?
Just ready for football. I'm ready for Fee stacks next week. I'm looking forward to it. First, we have to draft our team.
How do you like your new microphone today?
I don't know. We'll see what the listeners think about it.
Yeah, I think it sounds pretty
good to
good.
me. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's good to me.
It's definitely vastly improved from outdoor. Are you outside?
I am outside.
Wow, that little screen thing is doing. You sound great. I'm
Well, I
impressed.
can't wait to hear it.
Yeah. But yeah, no, we're excited to come back. Before we go, a couple things. How about a shout out to Zoe Brindley, who wrote that new opening theme music for our 5th season. Gentlemen, week 6 this year is going to be our 100th episode. Can you believe
100.
we're old men
Thank
in
you,
the
Zoe.
podcasting game. So yeah, we're looking forward to another fantasy football season. Next week's the real deal. I think Jeff's going to join us for a little bit again, do our preseason preview. Talk about, we're going to get you your first starts and sits of the year, first Fanduel Fee stacks of the week, our locks. Like we're here.
It's close. It's close. It's close. It's like we're like 8 tomorrow. You're gonna wake up and it's 1 week until football season.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And then we have a game next Friday night where neither team can wear the colors that are part of their team. It's gonna be great. It's
Oh
amazing.
yeah, Friday Night Football, so weird. Don't forget to go to Gridiron Ratings. Jeff's rankings are all up. They're live, and he's got all those injury reports and different ways of looking at running backs and quarterbacks that definitely help you in your drafts. And then don't forget to give us a like and follow, and come back next week because it's football season, baby.
Please do.
All right, we'll see you next week on 3 and Out.